Hi, this is Ben from FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. We are here with another episode of Tools Friday. Today marks it the third episode of the Tools series, and as promised, we are bringing you a new dimension, which is how to set up your own pen testing lab. As an ethical hacker, forensic expert, pen tester, bug hunter, and so on, it is necessary that you know how to set up your own labs that consist of vulnerable machines. This also makes it easy for you to be able to practice on how to exploit various vulnerabilities on a target. These machines also reflect real-life events, and the vulnerabilities discovered in them are applicable to real-life situations. So without wasting much of your time, let's cut to the agenda of today. On how to set up your own pen testing lab, the first we'll be dealing with is the hardware specifications or requirements. You would need or you would require a laptop that runs any Windows OS versions, be it Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, or Windows 11. And your laptop should have a minimum storage of 250 gigabytes. It's okay, you don't have to panic, you don't have to worry. You're not using all this storage, but it helps because when you install this OS on the VirtualBox, you probably be using it to conduct some simulations or even bug hunting events. And this involves you downloading a lot of tools, applications, files, and so on. So doing all these installations would require more storage from you or require a lot of storage from your system. That's the reason why we recommend that you at least have 250 gigabytes of storage. And also, we are conducting this installation or setting up this lab with two various operating systems. Next is your RAM size or RAM specification. You would require at least a 16 gigabyte RAM size. This is because also this operating system would require each a minimum of 4 gigabytes RAM and about 2 CPU cores to be able to run efficiently. So by the time you install these two various operating systems we are demonstrating today, you'll be left with about 8 gigabytes of RAM for your host system. The second point is the necessary files for installation. The first file we'll be downloading is the VirtualBox installation file for Windows, since we are installing this VirtualBox on Windows machine. The second we'll be downloading is the VirtualBox extension pack or file. Then the third we'll be downloading is the VirtualBox guest additions. And then for the two operating systems we'll be installing or demonstrating the installations, the Kali, you will download a file, which is the Kali OS. And for the Ubuntu, you also download a file, which is for the Ubuntu OS. Next is the walkthrough on what we are going to do. To be able to make you have a better understanding of how to do these things from the scratch, which is installing or setting up your own pen testing lab, we'll be uninstalling all our VirtualBox machines and the VirtualBox itself, demonstrating this process right in front of you. Then step 2, we'll download all the necessary files listed for the setup. Although we've downloaded these files just to save time, but we'll still be showing you the various links and the specific file that are necessary for the whole process. Thirdly, we'll install the VirtualBox and followed up with the VirtualBox extension pack. Then after that, we'll install and set up the Kali Linux. When we're done with the Kali Linux, we'll set up and install the Ubuntu. Then we'll configure the various network settings to ping both machines and verify their connectivity. After we're done, one of the VirtualBox machine, we would export it and delete it from the VirtualBox. Then we'll also now demonstrate how you can import the OVF file and display it back on a VirtualBox. This is also a way of making it easy for those who are not too technical or how to follow the process, or think they might make a mistake along the way and not get the proper installation. So it's like a click, like when you try to demonstrate something, just a walkthrough straight to the point without doing any configuration. And after we are done, we export both VirtualBox machines and upload it to a cloud storage, which we will be sharing the link for those who intend to download the virtualbox.ovf file and import it into their system for their own personal practice and so on. Then we'll be summarizing the entire process of what we did and end the episode with a closing remark. Also, you probably might be asking, we've been mentioning the VirtualBox extension pack and VirtualBox guest addition. What are these files? So basically, the VirtualBox extension pack includes advanced capabilities to the VirtualBox machine, widen its scope and its functionalities, such as improved USB support and a remote desktop protocol or access. So basically, if you intend to remotely connect to the VirtualBox, this is the functionality or the features of why you should install the extension pack. We'll also be showing you how to disable this, which is the remote desktop protocol on the VirtualBox, as you do not want to keep it open and subsequently making a mistake, exposing your IP only for you to discover that someone could remotely connect to you without your authorization. For the guest addition, on the other hand, it ensures your VirtualBox machine has a better performance with functionalities such as the clipboard, the drag and drop, and shared folders and so on. This also will be demonstrating this between these two virtual machines by the time we're done installing them. So without further ado, let's get straight to the process and start executing the procedures. So first, this is our existing VirtualBox machine that contains all our virtual machines for our lab procedures for the students. So we'll be removing everything right now before we uninstall the VirtualBox itself. So you right click, you click on the specific machine you want to remove, you right click and you come here where the X or remove is, you click on it and you say delete all files as well. If you click on remove only, it's just going to remove the machine, but it's not going to remove the files. And when you import it back, it's going to overwrite the existing files from the importation. So remove and delete all files. 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 Remove this and delete all files as well. And do this. So now we are done removing all the virtual machines. Let's uninstall it. So we go to uninstall program. And we search for VirtualBox. Okay, we right click, uninstall everything. We'll say yes. And everything should be done in a minute. So we are done. The VirtualBox is off the host. It's no more there. Now to install the VirtualBox itself, we need to download the file. These files we have downloaded, but it's okay that we show you what we are doing. So now the first thing we want to do is to download the VirtualBox itself. We take the first link, which is for the VirtualBox, and we open our Microsoft Edge. It's already open here, and we paste and go. Now there are various versions of the VirtualBox machine. We have for Windows, we have for Mac OS, we have for Linux, we have for Solaris, and we have for Solaris 11. However, we're on Windows, so we have to download for Windows. You just click this one. But we'll be canceling this because we have downloaded the file. We already have this files in our system. So the next thing you want to do is to download the extension pack. Here you scroll down the same link as well. You will see the VirtualBox extension pack for all platforms. You click on this. This file is about a few megabytes. You just click. Doesn't take time, so we can just delete since we already have it on our system. So after we've downloaded the VirtualBox and the VirtualBox extension pack, the next thing we want to do is to download. The next thing we want to do is to download the VirtualBox guest additions. So we copy the link and we paste here. And be careful, you have to download from official VirtualBox. Do not download from any third-party links, as it's very dangerous. And threat actors can actually modify all these files to become very malicious. And even if the files from the third-party sources are not encoded with malicious code, it's also not advisable to always download stuff from third parties. So the next thing you want to do is to look for VirtualBox guest additions.iso file. And as you can see, it's this file. This is the current version. If you click on it, the file will download. As usual, we do not need this file as we have downloaded all the files. Then the next thing we want to do is to download the first OS, which is the Kali. We copy the link for the Kali. We paste and go. Now this is where it's tricky. Because you're installing it on VirtualBox doesn't mean you should download for this. Sometimes this gives a lot of issues, but if you download the ISO file directly, it's like you're trying to install to a normal computer, but via the VirtualBox, since the VirtualBox has an optical disk image to read ISO files, so it doesn't matter. You download this one, you just click on this, then you come here, ignore all this, you don't need any of this, just click on this one, click on download. It should be downloading by now, but we cancel this. We do not need it, so we cancel it. We do not need that file. The next thing we want to do is to now download the final OS, which is the Ubuntu. We come here, we copy the link, we paste and go. Now be very careful. There are two versions here. You see this 23.10, and it tells you that the last maintenance is going to be by July 2024. So you should ignore this. And they even advise you that it's recommended that you download the 22.04, which is this one. And previously, during the introduction, we told you why you need a 16 GB RAM. And as you can see, the minimum specification here, it's 4 gigabytes of RAM storage and 2 gigahertz of processor and 25 gigabytes of hard drive space. So these are the things that is required to get this installed, which is the Ubuntu. So as usual, you just click on the download here. Then ignore this, just click on this. As usual, we'll be canceling this, we do not need this. So now we are done with the downloads. Let's start installing these files one after the other. The first thing we want to do is to open the files where they are located. So this is our installation file. The first thing we want to do is to install the VirtualBox. So we'll click on this, we'll say run as administrator, and you click yes. And you follow the on-screen instruction. Yes, next, yes, install, and you wait. It should be done about in a minute or less. So do not start this. We can do this in two ways, by closing this and installing the extension pack. So you double click on extension pack. Then it's going to tell you, do you want to reinstall it? You say yes, reinstall. And you say agree. So now that we are done installing the VirtualBox and the extension pack, we want to start setting up our Kali machines. So the first thing we want to do is we click on new. We give it a name. Let's say, what do we want to call the name? We call the name pen testing. Okay, let's say FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. Okay. Do not select the ISO files. Then here, what you want to do is to select what you're installing. So we select is Linux. Then on the version, Kali Linux is a Debian-based operating system. All the packages and files on Kali Linux are Debian-based. So you come down here, you look for Debian 64. Since our system is 64 bits, we select this. The next thing is you click next. Now this is where we do the other configuration. Our system has about 32 gigabyte of RAM. So let's just give this guy about 16 gigabytes. It's okay. Let's just give him like 16 gigabytes since we run a lot of heavy stuff Nessus. Then for the CPU, we give him, let's say 3. Then we click on next. Here for the storage, right, we click on 80. And always remember, you have to select create a virtual hard disk. If you don't want to, use your system hard disk and exhaust your storage. Now we click on finish. So this is where we should now do the basic configuration, which is very, very important. You have to do these configurations. If you don't do this, it's going to be a problem. Now you go to settings, you select the machine we just set up, go to settings. On general, it's already here. Advanced. Now for this is clipboard and drop is to drag between the VirtualBox and your host machine, which is where the VirtualBox is sitting on. After we install the guest additions, which will be showing you how to do that. So for now, let's just put this bi-directional. We'll be disabling it later just to show you. Also notice sometimes, I don't know, latest updates of VirtualBox have been having these issues with drag and drop, but it's not a problem. There's always another way on how you can share files and folders between hosts and the VirtualBox machine. For description, here it's where you put information like, okay, this is what my password will be, this is what my username will be. Then if you want to enable disk encryption, whereby if you try to log in, it's going to tell you to enter the disk password first before you can be able to see the logon screen to put in your password. So we'll not be doing anything here. On system, we've already done this. Every other thing here would not need to do any changes. Just let it be the default settings. On processor, we already given 3 CPU and execution cap 100%. Very okay. On acceleration, leave the default. Now on display, the screen display, I always advise to just take it to the full. It doesn't matter. Then on monitor count, you can make it like 2. Then you move on to the remote display tab. So if we put this right now, enable this, this is where the RDP we previously stated about comes in. So if we enable this, anyone who has our IP can be able to connect to this machine using this port. And after like this period, it's going to time out. So we remove this. On recording, enable recording if you want to record videos with your Kali box. We also believe in that. On storage, this is where we'll be doing the whole putting ISO files. On audio, enable audio output, enable audio input if you want to speak to the mic. Audio driver, you can leave it to default. Then on network, you can use NAT network. However, the name is not here because we have not loaded any operating system yet, and we are going to use the adapter 1. Then on serial port, usually I just leave this like this by default. I do not need it. You do not need it. Then on USB, I always advise to select USB 3.0 if you're going to plug your USB drive, as the current USB drive is USB 3.0. Then the shared folder, yeah, this is where you create a folder on your virtual machine, linking that folder to your actual host machine. So when you mount this on boot and you log into your VirtualBox machine, your VirtualBox can be able to connect with your host folder, whereby you can drag and drop files, put files there. And by the time you go back to your host and access that directory or folder, you can see the files you dropped from the VirtualBox machine. So we'll be showing you this later on. If the click and drag doesn't work or the drag and drop doesn't work, we'll be showing you how to do this with shared folder. Then on user interface, I usually leave this also like this default. But for the visual state, I put it to full screen. You can either put it to full screen or scaled, but I prefer to put it to full screen. Then what else? Then you click OK. Now you go back to settings. You come to storage, right? Then you click on this. Choose a disk file. Then we come to music, installations. Since we are installing the Kali Linux first, we'll select the Kali Linux and we'll click on open and we'll click on OK. And that's all you need. And you just click on start. So in about 1 or 2 minutes, the window should pop up and tell us the installation is about to commence. As you can see, our Kali is here. Now, for selection, install graphical install. Sorry, for installation, select graphical install. Here you select for English, United States, location, American English, right? So this should not take much time. So for the host name, we just put FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. And we click on continue. FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. Click on continue. FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. Just put the password to be root. Tab root. So we put it. Okay, just put Hawaii. Now, if you're a new user, just use guided use entire disk. This is the one you should select. Then you click continue. Then all files in one partition. I can actually separate these files, but it's just to demonstrate something to you. So we'll leave it there. Good. You click on continue. Yes. So wait for a while. Takes its time, not that too long. Everything will be okay. Now, usually I can use GNOME, but just use the default. It doesn't matter. Sometimes GNOME has this weird issues of trying to install updates. It tells you to install this, install that. So let's keep waiting. should be almost done by now. I think this is the last stage, the last phase. It's installing the whole package that we need, tools that are pre-built with the Kali Linux. So this would definitely take time, but probably, give or take, should not be more than 30 minutes, which is half an hour. Also, one beautiful thing about having your own pen testing lab is if you're passionate about cybersecurity, you wouldn't be lazy, like thinking, oh, I have nothing to practice. You can just decide to get a vulnerable machine that aligns with the vulnerability you're researching on, and you get both boxes fired up. One is, which is your Kali Linux for your pen testing, and the other one is going to be the vulnerable machine. And then you can just, tweak some vulnerabilities. Kali Linux comes with a lot of tools. It's not just about Metasploit. Let's say you fire up Metasploit and you find a vulnerability that is pertinent to a specific version or a specific application. You can now research that application via Google or Bing or whatever search engine you use. You download the application version that is vulnerable, you install it, then you set it up to make sure it's active, and you use the Metasploit framework. And you use the Nmap to scan the vulnerable machine which you're using as practice. As long as that specific application that is vulnerable is on the machine you're using as a target, you definitely have the services enumerated by Nmap. Then you can now try to fire up your Metasploit framework and find a way to use those services that were enumerated and conduct that specific vulnerability attack you want to conduct on the vulnerable machine you set up as a target. So this is one beautiful thing about having your own lab. Your own lab will just teach you a lot of things. You don't need to start saying, okay, I need to get a job and work in the industry or work in the field like that. These are the things you will do. The only difference about the real life situation is that probably if the organization have a good security posture, then you'll find a way to maneuver things like the IPS or the IDS or the WAF and firewall settings. And also you can also set these things on your vulnerable machine locally. You can look out for free IPS tools out there or IDS tools, and you install it on the vulnerable machine and practice. So there is nothing, whatever you simulate on your personal lab is exactly what you're doing out there. The only difference is that out there you get rewarded if you discover something to be exploited. Cybersecurity is not something you should be scared of. It's demanding, to be honest. Cybersecurity is demanding. You have to work hard, extremely hard. You have to read a lot of books. You have to do a lot of research. You have to keep yourself up to date. You also have to have a social presence in terms of talking about those things that you know, because most organizations don't believe resumes anymore, and certificates also even when you have this and you apply for a job, most of them will feel like you need to attain a certain level for them to employ you. And the funny thing is that even when they employ you, the salary might not even match the sacrifices you've put into. But the beauty is that once you know how these things work and you can demonstrate them and you can show it to the public, either via your social media handles or via a blog you write, you now have the authority to bargain something very positive for your own benefit. And organizations also, when they see that whatever you speak about yourself, it's properly documented and demonstrated via any social presence you have, the doubt that they have is already gone. So what they will now be looking for is how to negotiate the salary or your financial benefit in terms of additional bonuses and rewards depending on your performance. So just get your lab set up, practice. You can just pick 1 hour a day and practice something new. It can be okay, like today I want to target VNC. Tomorrow I want to target vulnerable Python packages. Next week I want to target something that has to do with Apache server. I will just have to install the version of Apache server that is vulnerable to RCE. Then I would run the test and I will try to see if I can exploit it. These are just the various ways you should practice. Cybersecurity is very, 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 very beautiful. You know, it's a very beautiful profession. If you're passionate about cybersecurity, trust me. We can decide to scale this. Okay, let's scale this and see if our recording is still catching here. Our recording is still catching. So all the necessary information we've been speaking on or passing on to you, you're getting it right. Later on, I will tell you what we can do at that description. So description is basically if you have your labs, let's say you have team members you work with in your organization, and this lab is being used by every staff of the organization. You want to ensure that you put a description of the username and password so that they can easily gain access to it just for their own practice purposes. So basically that's what the description does. You just put information there or additional information or anything you want to explain, like, okay, do not execute this app, do not do this. Description basically is just information about what you want to tell the user that is trying to use the box. It's also a form of you also remembering your username or your credentials. So let's say you try to access the box and you cannot remember the password because you're exhausted, you're tired, or you're busy doing other stuff. So you can just come on and check the description. And if you put the information there, you can easily just retrieve those information and try and use it to log into your machine. Also be reminded, tomorrow, the same midnight US time, we'll be publishing the content on the book series. This week, our book series is also an introduction to cybersecurity. So it's a basic book. And after we done publishing the videos, we advise that you visit our website and check our online store. These books are not expensive in terms of for those who can afford it, let's be honest. And after reviewing all this information to you, it's based on what we've read about these books. It's not like we just pick a random book and just tell you stories or jargons about them. we read them and we feel that these books are so we'll click continue to reboot the machine. So back to what we're saying, these books are books we've read, and it's a good thing that you show us some appreciation by buying through us. It's not like we are the ones selling it. It's Amazon that is selling these books, but we promote the product, and when you buy, we get to have a percentage or commission from the sales. So please, while we go through the extra miles to make sure we make things very easy for you by telling you information and not hiding anything from you, it's also advisable that you try and help us as well by buying through us, so we can get those little commissions to keep the dream alive. So please do to show some love and support. So let's put the password. We should be correct, right? Okay. See. Made a mistake. The username is supposed to be in small letters, not capital letters. So as you can see, the box is installed. Should we install the guest edition? Yeah, we should. So we go back to the machine. See, everything is here. Can fire up the Firefox, and it's gonna be very fast. You can decide to say okay. Google.com. Let's see, we're here. Google is showing, and where's the terminal? You can say who am I? FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY, PWD, Finder Home, LS, desktop, documents, download, CD/root, CD root. Okay, sudo CD/root. Yep. Good. So we're in the root right now. So that's it. Now, remember we said something about copying. Let's create a file right now. Let's say new file. Let's call this file FIXITGEARWARE. And let's save this file to desktop and call it FIXIT. To fix it, right? To desktop, and we say enter. Now the file is here. Let's try something. Let's try dragging this file here. You can see it doesn't work. It says drag and drop operation from guest to host is failed. Also, since we are done with the Kali, let's delete it just to save space on our machine. Extension pack. Delete this. VirtualBox. Delete this. Not need this anymore. So only thing we need right now is the Ubuntu and guest additions. Let's clear these files. So what we want to do right now, we go back to our Kali, we go to settings, we go to storage, we come here, we'll click here, choose a disk file, we select this, we open, we click OK, we go back to our Kali, we open it, and as you can see, let's close this. As you can see, our VirtualBox guest edition is already here. So to install this VirtualBox guest edition, we have to follow a series of commands. We click on it. We scroll down to the bottom. Say open in terminal. Now we are here, which is this. So we say, so we minimize this. We'll say ls. Now we list out all the files. We want to look out for this, which is the VirtualBox additions run. We copy selections. Then we say sudo chmod is change mode plus x space. We right click and we paste selection and we click enter. We put our password. We put our password. Good. Now this file has been changed, right? So the next thing we want to do is to do sudo sh dot slash, and we right click and we enter. You say yes and we wait. It's gonna install guest addition right now on our PC. Good. Now the next thing you want to do is you say sudo apt get update and sudo apt get upgrade -y. So the argument y is to say yes to everything, because the Kali we just installed definitely might have been released 30 days ago or 60 days ago, and since then there might have been little packages that have been added to the Kali Linux. So we do this just to update it to the latest version of Kali. And yeah, it's just that simple. It's not complex. Setting up your own lab, of course, comes with experience. To be very professional in cybersecurity, to know a lot of things in cybersecurity, at least give or take, you should have been in the industry for at least 10 years to be well grounded on how things work, how to chain events, how to link, subject matters. There is nothing complex about cybersecurity. The only thing you can say is it takes time for you to be very, very, very well grounded in cybersecurity. You have to give it a lot of time, like serious lot of time. It's not easy. You cannot just wake up one day and become an expert. You have to practice, fail, But once you get to that state of mind where you now see things, when you now feel cybersecurity, it becomes a very, very, very exciting thing to do every day. It might be writing content, it might be pen testing, it might be writing tools, it might also be, bug hunting as well. These are little things or various aspects of cybersecurity that it's so exciting and beautiful. Tap. Okay, we just say this character, Gregorian. It's one of the reasons why you should run the sudo apt update and upgrade. After this, we'll be rebooting the system. We actually do not need the guest addition anymore, so we can remove it while this update is running. We come here, come to settings, come to storage. Just okay, it's not going to remove because the system is still active. Only allows for adding. We can also do here, we can also say eject. I think we can eject here. We can say on mount volume here, or safely remove volume. Okay, just wait then. So various tools, various Kali Linux tools. Skip fish, slice, Wireshark, WP scan. Okay, let's launch Wireshark and see how it looks like. So this is it. Let's see exploitation tools. And the thing is, it's now based on categories. You can see for database enumeration, vulnerability analysis, we have fuzzing tools. What are the fuzzing tools we have here? Let's see. Spike, okay. Nikito is one of the oldest tools in Kali. Nmap to scan IP enumeration. I think this should be the GUI version. This should be the GUI version. Okay, it's not a GUI version then. Okay, now as you can see, everything was successfully installed. There was no error. So let's do a reboot first. I wanted to do a power off, but if I do a power off, I'm skeptical that the changes might not be effective. So let's reboot the system and see what happens. As you can see, it because of the guest addition has been installed, it automatically switches the screen. We don't need to click for it to so as you can see, let's safely remove this guy. Okay, now that we're done, let's see something. Let's see if this file is going to copy. But if it doesn't copy, it's not a problem. Later on, we'll be showing you how to set up a shared folder. But hopefully it should copy. It's not going to work. So I think Kali decided to stop this because they don't want a vulnerable machine. If let's say you're using this Linux and threat actor get access to this machine, they can be able to just drag a file from the Kali box to the host machine, and you might not know what might happen. So I think Kali decided to disable this. So we're done with installing the Kali Linux. So what we want to do right now is to power it off. And the next thing we are going to do is to install the Ubuntu. So now we are done installing the Kali. We'll be installing the Ubuntu shortly. Thank you. So now that we are done installing the Kali Linux and adding the guest additions, the next thing we want to do is to go back to the optical drive to remove the guest addition ISO files. So to remove the guest addition, we come here to the storage, we click on the VBox and you right click and you click on remove attachment and you say remove and you click OK. And if we try to boot up our box again, the guest addition will not be there anymore. There's also something interesting I want to show you that there's also something interesting I want to show you that VirtualBox did in their latest update. As you can see, this is the OS running here, and this is our VirtualBox machine. I just want to show you something. So both of them are running together and it's consuming a lot of processor. So just close this. As you can see, everything is running very well. So this is one of the updates that makes the VirtualBox now beautiful. They took people's advice that the box is always slow. So this is it. Forget about this notification. I'll disable it later. So here is where if you open a window, you can, let's say we click terminal, and we minimize it. Okay, click here. Oh, okay, that's for terminal. Okay, and close this. And here we can see a list of terminal we've launched. So let's open the file manager and let's minimize it. So basically, as you can see, everything is working. You can see the WP scan tool. You click on it, it tells you what to do, how to use the tool. So one beautiful thing about this is that after you've installed the Kali Linux, you can see everything is functional. So now we are done installing the Kali. So the next thing we want to do is to install the Ubuntu. So we power off the Kali. We open VirtualBox again. We follow the same steps, but this time around is for the Ubuntu. So we set a new. We call it FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY 1. Don't select any ISO file. Then for here, we select Linux. Now, for Ubuntu, we have to select Ubuntu 64. Forget about the TLS or TLR or whatever they call it. The LTS, sorry. Forget about the LTS. Just look for Ubuntu 64 bits. So this is it. And you click on Next. And here we just select, let's select 8 GB. Okay. Processor, we just put 2 or 3. Okay. We click on Next. For this, we just put, let's put, okay, let's just put 80 because we're using this for forensics. And create a virtual hard disk now, and you click on Next and you click on Finish. Then you go to the settings, do the normal configuration, general, advanced. You can put it bi-directional. We don't need this right now. Encryption as well, we don't need it. System. Okay. Now for display, we also take this full mount 3 CPU. On remote display, do not enable server. Remember, you do not want someone to remotely connect to your virtual machine via a remote desktop protocol. And for recording, no need. We are not using any recording feature for this. And under storage, we'll be doing storage here later. Audio, okay. We also do not want the input, because basically this is for hacking, and we might be installing some malware which might trigger audio capture. For network is also NAT, but we'll be showing you something later. Leave this. USB 3.0. Shared folders to the same thing. User interface. You can put this, you can say full screen. That's what we use. And now we go back to the storage. We click on this. We'll say add the disk file. Choose a disk file. Then we'll select for Ubuntu. And we click on OK. And we just click on start. That's all. So we'll have to wait for this to get installed. Then we'll show you how to do the NAT configuration, which is the network address translation. So you just click on try or install Ubuntu. Now we select English. You click on install. You're not trying Ubuntu. You say install. Click on continue. Do not select this. Click on continue. It's going to take some time, but it's going to get installed. Install now. Continue. Continue. So FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY 1. Put a password. Just use root. It's for our lab. Root. No, we're not using Active Directory. But later on in our future premium courses, we'll be teaching you how to set up Active Directory and how to brute force this, especially if you want to conduct a penetration testing. You have to understand the concept of how Active Directory works. So we'll wait while this takes a while. So later on, once this is done installing, we'll be doing the NAT configuration, which is the network address translation. So basically, if you want to separate virtual machines locally installed on your computer to be communicating, you have to set up the NAT network. This is like setting up a local area network whereby both machines are on the same network. If you do not set it up, you will definitely have issues trying to communicate to both machines. The network address translation also is like your home router. So on your home router, your mobile phones, your iPad, your desktop computer, your laptop computer, they're all connected. So that's basically how the NAT configuration or network address translation works. So once we are done the installation, we'll use the nmap we'll first of all ping both computers, then we'll use the nmap to scan one of the machines to enumerate the services running on one of the machines. So it's going to take about 2 minutes or less. Oh, okay, 2 minutes. So we wait patiently while the Ubuntu is installing. And remember, we previously said that we're going to export one of the machines, then delete it, and we'll re-import it back. So this, why we want to demonstrate this is that at the end of the day, after we are done installing, we are going to export both machines and we would upload it on the cloud and share the link for those who really do not know how to set things up. So basically what you need to do is just to click on the link and download it and just import. The only thing is you have to learn how to set up the VirtualBox machine, which is very, very easy. It's just one click, installing the extension. Then after you've imported the VDI file, you have to also install the guest addition. So these are the things you just need to know. Or after you've imported the .ovf file, you have to install the guest additions. We also do the guest additions also for the Ubuntu. It's just the same process. Add the ISO file to the optical drive. Open the Ubuntu and run the chmod command first, which is the change mode. Then after that, we run the sudo sh command and install the VirtualBox guest additions, and that's all. It's not complicated, very simple and straightforward. Okay, counting down, 19 seconds to go. So about the course on Active Directory, we are not on the blue team side, but we'll be setting it up and using it to teach offensive security, whereby after setting up the Active Directory domains and all that, we'll now try to brute force, enumerate, pen test, whatever procedures we want to do to try to have credentials of the domains of the Active Directory. Do not plan to publish any course on Active Directory this year. This year, we're just focusing on cybersecurity, programming, web development, and what else? Yeah, I think just those three. Then towards the end of the year, if we do not have a lot on our plate, as promised, we'll be publishing a full complete course on penetration testing in depth, and we promise that our course will be among one of those courses you will see out there that explains everything nitty-gritty without you feeling like you're confused. I mean, if you watch our content, that's exactly what we do. Even our social media posts, we try to make things very simple. It's part of our goal, it's part of our objective to make cybersecurity not just affordable, but also very understandable. So we're almost done with installing the Ubuntu. I think we should be done in about a few seconds. And we set the network address translation, ping both networks by getting each other's IP, export one of the machines, delete it and install it back, then export two of the machines later, upload it to the cloud drive, One more important thing about making your machines vulnerable: ensure the machines you're making vulnerable are the ones you're using for the pen testing, the ones that serves as a target. Do not use your actual Kali machine you use every day to conduct a bug hunting event or hunting for bugs, because it's inevitable that the machine will always be on, and you don't want to, while you're trying to do something very important and you discover your machine starts having this weird behavior signaling that somebody has eventually compromised your computer. So whatever machine we make vulnerable on our own end, these are like, we make those machines like real life targets. Do not use them to conduct any pen testing. They just serve the purpose of being a target. So we install those applications to make them vulnerable. But the actual machine we use to conduct our various private pen testing event that is unrelated to lab practices, we do not make those machines vulnerable. So let's just drop the disclaimer here so you don't end up making a mess of yourself by installing vulnerable softwares on your actual machine that you use for your pen testing event. Always ensure that after you've done also conducting your penetration testing with those vulnerable targets you installed locally on your computer, you turn them off. Turn them off. It's very important you do. Do not just lock your computer screen and say, okay, later I would. You do not know how porous you might be secured, like your host computer might be secured, but your Wi-Fi connection might not be. The firmware of the router might not be updated, and there's been a way someone can infiltrate the network. So imagine you left your vulnerable machine connected to the network. It becomes a problem for you. So just be careful. There is nothing complicating about having vulnerable machines. Just make sure that once you're done, you turn them off. So we're almost done. Once the Ubuntu is up, we'll just do the few configurations, ping both machines, and that's all. Then we export the OVF. I think we would export the Kali because Ubuntu seems to be heavy, and that gives us a sign that exporting the file will take some time, which we might not have. So we'll export the Kali itself. Then after that, we'll delete it and try to import it again. Then even before we export it, we'll put a file. We'll just create a simple file there for you to see. Then after we've exported it, we'll delete it and delete the entire files and import it back without any system configurations, and we will still have access to our files back again. This is just to show you how it works. So if you're one of those kind of persons who are not really tech savvy, do not worry. I'll make sure I upload the .ovf file on the cloud storage and share the link so you can just import it directly. And what else? Then you can now do other configurations you want. But the only issue is that it might bear the username FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I will export this and import it back. Then maybe sometime next week when I'm free, I will create a separate Kali Linux machine and Ubuntu. I'll just call them user, and the password will be just password. Then I'll export them and share the link. I think it's much better. We can actually skip all this process, but it wouldn't be advisable to do such. It's good to show you everything and how it works and what we're doing, so you can also follow the same step and reproduce your own results. Remember, if you're trying to install the Kali, you can use Genome or the XFCE or XCFE, I don't even know. But basically, Genome, it's sometimes it's troublesome if you use Genome to install the Kali. Like our previous Kali, we just uninstall this Genome, right? Sometimes we try to copy something into the text editor and we have issues with that. Let's ensure this is still recording. Okay. Now we're done installing. It tells us to restart. So restart. I think our Ubuntu is ready. This is the best part of Ubuntu. I mean, realistically, it took the .iso file away after installing, and so we just click here. And where's the, is it root or password? Okay. So now, as you can see, so we can use to install any of these apps. Then we can say done. And now if we so we can just click the terminal and see we're here, and it tells us it's VirtualBox. So we can just say, let's see something first. if config. So we have not assigned IP to the machines. So let's assign IP address. Okay, restart. So we'll be powering off both machines once we're done. And set up the NAT network. So we do this. Should be in a moment. Okay, so let's power off the Ubuntu. Now let's go and fix the network for Ubuntu. We go to the network, say NAT advanced, and we NAT network, then we click allow VMs, and we click OK. We can also refresh this MAC address if we do not want. It's going to randomly generate a new MAC address for us. So we just click OK. And we go to the Kali and we do the same thing. Come to network, select NAT network. Where are you? Okay, NAT network, and we say allow all VMs, and is it just randomly generate this number, and we click OK. We can now start this. And now start this and wait for it. And if we click the terminal and type ifconfig, we should get our IP address right now. And as you can see, this is our IP address for our Kali. Now let's open Ubuntu. Then we'll close the VirtualBox machine. Once both okay. So for Kali, we are 10.0.2.15. Let's see what we have for our Ubuntu. Did it this way so that you can see what's actually okay. We forgot something, which is to log in and also guest addition, but it's okay. I think we can do that later. View, let's say scaled mode, switch. Okay, good. Later on we'll install the guest addition, so this graphics will be cool. So now this is our Ubuntu, right? We just look for the terminal. Wow, this doesn't look so clean. I think we'll have to install. Okay, let's look for IP. Say ifconfig. Okay, so let's sudo apt install nettools. So let's say ifconfig. Good. So now we have 10.0.2.17. So if we try and ping this IP right now, from here, we should be receiving a response to say that the host is live or active. So let's ping 10.0.2.17. So this .17 is for Ubuntu. You can see it's receiving. You can see, so it's active. And if we close, we clear here, and we come here and say ping. We come here, we say ping our Kali 10.0.2.15. We should be receiving a response. As you can see, both of them are connected. They're on the same local area network, and you can see the total packet transmitted, receive, loss rate none, and that's it. So as promised, we would export one of the VM and import it back just to show and demonstrate that it actually works. So let's power off this one. Let's power off this VM. And we power off this one. And we go back to VirtualBox. Anyway, let's check our storage first. Okay, we got storage. And we go back to VirtualBox and we say we want to export. So you click on the virtual machine you want to export. Click on File, you click on Export Appliances to show you here. Then for this visualization, leave it to this one. The directory or destination you want to import this file to, you select it. So not to make mistakes, let's put it here, the music. And we click on Finish. And there should be a pop-up right now. Yeah. So it's trying to write out the appliances. Then after we're done, we're going to delete this and import it back again for you to see. And you still see the FIXIT text file we created. And not just that, you also see that the same password we used in logging in is the same password we can still use. So when you export the machine, it exports both the configuration and every other settings there. Sometimes this takes time, so just be patient. It's dependent on the machine installation files size. It's about 58% right now exported. Probably in about 15 minutes it should be done. So as promised, next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend will be exporting an already installed Kali Linux and Ubuntu.ovf file to cloud storage. All you just need to do is just to download it and get your VirtualBox installed and import. That's all you need to do. You don't need to start doing configurations like network settings, storage settings. So you don't do some weird configurations like setting up a remote configuration and open your computer to the public. So basically, virtual machine is like when you have Docker containers or Kubernetes. if the container is not properly configured, it can be exposed to the public internet, and that's where you hear about information leakage or data exposure. So these are the things you need to know. Cybersecurity is very interconnected. Once you understand the concept of how cybersecurity is, how both cloud, VMs, and all this work, you know that everything is just based on network configurations and security settings. So one mistake can actually put your computer into problems. So let's wait. We are about 65% right now. About 10 minutes it should be done. One more tips again you should know is various versions of Linux operating system serves various purposes. If you're into offensive red teaming, it's best to install Kali. But if you're into blue teaming or you're a defender, you should install Ubuntu. Ubuntu, you can be able to install tools. You can also use Ubuntu to image files. Very easy. So don't just install operating system on your machine because others are doing it. Let it have a purpose. And maybe next week, if we going to do 2 series next week, we might introduce you into another Linux distro that is good for forensics. They call it the CSI Linux. So as you can see, we are done exporting this file, and if we go to the directory where we saved it, we can find it there. Music, and you can see this is the file, right? So now we are going to delete this. Let's delete it. Not remove only, we'll say delete both the files. So everything about that distro is gone. And let's sort this one out first. Where is the... Okay. So let's sort the guest additions for this. You remember previously the IP address for the Kali was 10.0. For the Kali was 10.0.15, and for the Ubuntu it was 10.0.17. Okay, we have the same process, not in when in terminal. You click on ls, you okay, so say sudo sh dot So everything should be okay by now. So everything should be okay right now. You see, the graphics is starting to make some adjustment. Good. So we reboot. So we reboot. Let's see. I think the graphics should be okay by now. If it's not, we can do some adjustment. I think the graphics should be okay by now. But if it's not, we can make some adjustment. Okay, so we to display settings. We come here, we say this, apply. Okay, okay, so we keep, now the graphics is okay, right? And we can come here and eject. Good. So where's the terminal again? We open the terminal and we can say ifconfig. You can see the IP is 10.0.2.17. Okay. So that's the IP address for the Ubuntu. So let's import the Kali back. So we come here, we say file, import appliances. We browse to the directory where the .ovf file is. We go to music. We select the .ovf file and we click next. Yes, it has to include the, if we want to change this, we can change this. It's also going to take some time. Maybe we might just do some little nmap scan to this Ubuntu just to enumerate the services. And let's wait and see how long it's going to take to import. It doesn't take that much time. Now we are done importing. Let's start the machine. Remember the IP was 10.0.2.15, right? And the password was still root. So we'll try and use those credentials again to see if they actually are still there. The entire settings after we exported the VM. for you installing the VirtualBox guest editions. One beautiful thing about this is once someone configure this for you and install the VirtualBox guest additions, even when they export the .ovf file and you import it back to your machine, you do not need to install any guest additions. So let's put the username FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY, say root. And as you can see, the file is still there. The file we previously created, and you can see it's still here. And to prove the point, we open this and we click the terminal and say ifconfig tab. And you can see still the same IP. And if we type history to list history of what we've done, and this is exactly what we did before we exported the machine. So let's do a simple nmap scan. Nmap 10.0.2.17. Oh, sorry. I did the comma instead of nmap 10.0.2.17. Sorry about that. So as you can see, it tells us that the host is up, which is our Ubuntu. So it tells us one host is up. Okay, let's make it much better using nmap -s, capital letter N, and the IP should be 10.0.2.17. 2.17 and click enter. Okay, so sudo nmap -sn 10.0.2.17, and we click enter. Specify our password. As you can see, it tells us the MAC address. Look at this number now, 080027 60 0F 3F. And if we go here, where's the MAC address? Init. So you can see it's 60 0F 3F. So this is the MAC address of the target, which is this. So this is all about how to set up your lab. If it's Windows, you do the same thing. Follow the configuration, specify the memory and the storage size you want to install the virtual machine OS. It's not that too complicated, and yeah. So let's recapitulate what we just did. The first thing we did was downloading all the necessary files we needed for the installation, which is first the VirtualBox installation file. Then we downloaded the extension pack. After that, we downloaded the VirtualBox guest additions.iso file. Then we downloaded the Kali Linux.iso and the Ubuntu.iso. Then after we're done with that, the first step of the next stage was uninstalling all our VirtualBox machines and uninstalling the VirtualBox itself to demonstrate the process on creating the labs from scratch. Then, as stated, we've downloaded all the files for the setup. Then we went ahead to install the VirtualBox machine and the VirtualBox extension pack. After we were done, we installed and set up the Kali Linux first. Then we moved on to install the Ubuntu. And we pinged both machines to verify their connectivity, which we just showed. We then went ahead to export one of the machines, which was the Kali Linux, and delete it from the VirtualBox. Then later on, we imported the Kali Linux machine back into the VirtualBox. We went ahead to verify the IP address to confirm that every of the configurations that we made before we exported the VirtualBox still remain after we've exported, deleted, and imported back. Then we did a simple nmap scan to the Ubuntu OS. And that's all we did to complete the setup of a pen testing lab or a pen testing home lab. So we have come to an end of the tool series episode for this week. Remember to give us the good stuff, which is the like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell, as this is awesome and helps out for the algorithm in order for us to get to a wider audience. We want to use this medium to say thank you for those who have been following us, participating in our posts and contents on our various social media. We appreciate you. And for those who also would take their time to watch these videos to give us a few views or share with their friends who are interested in setting up their own labs, we also say thank you. And what else? We are grateful it's the weekend. Do expect us to publish our book series this weekend, as usual. And see you next week on another episode of the Tools series. Thank you once again and have a pleasant weekend.